All right, we're talking peptides today. We're talking GLPs. It's a hot topic. There's a lot of that going around right now, and I think a lot of people have an opinion on it. And I think people are still trying to figure out what's right, what's not, and so we want to talk about it, especially when it comes to well, we have some people on, or we're having a guest on who's going to talk more about peptides, which I'm excited for. But specifically, we want to talk more on the GLPs because we have a lot of clients that are on them, and we work with them on that, and we want to make sure that we're using them properly and getting the most benefit out of it, and being able to determine like if they are for you or not. So that's kind of what we want to break down in this episode.
Yeah, like you said, I think a lot of people have a lot of opinions on it, but I don't think people really have a whole lot of knowledge about it. And
Yeah.
so it is popular, it's out there, and people want to put their 2 cents in there. But we want to kind of cut through all that noise today and kind of break down what they actually are, the different versions, where people are getting them, why that matters. Kind of go through like a little pro con list, and the thing that I feel like nobody talks enough about probably is why just taking these GLPs alone are going to get you where they're not going to get you where you want to be, right? It's not a magic pill that's just going to put you exactly where you want to be and allow you to hit all your goals. So it's not the only solution. It's again, it's going to be, it could be, let me put it that way. It could be a tool
Hmm.
in your toolbox to use. But so if you're on one right now, or you're thinking about it, or you've heard about these and you're like, oh, I'd love to know more about this, we're going to kind of go over that. So it'll be
Hmm.
fun. I'm interested in talking about it.
Yeah, definitely a good topic to break down because I feel like a lot of people they're like swear by they think that they're cheating or they're like they're somewhere in the middle. So it's like we just want to set the record straight. See, kind of get into the bottom of it all. First things first, though, we'll just wanted to catch up. One, I'd like to announce that I've reached peak tan. Thank you very much. I've been putting in work every single week.
Well, what's funny is, so like for our audience, like we put these notes in here, right? And so I see, all I see is the word tan, and I have no idea what you're going to bring up. So I was like, I have no idea what she's going to, what this is going to be about. So okay, so peak tanness. How do you know that you're in peak tanness? Like, what determines peak tanness, and why can't you go further than this?
Because I feel like no matter how long I go out now, it's like I don't get any tanner, so I think I've reached my max tan when your body just adapts too much. I don't know. I don't know if there's a way around it or what.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't think I've ever thought about whether we have like a peak tanness. Like we can't, like we got to the part, a place where our body's like, that's it. This is as dark as you'll ever get. Doesn't matter what. It'd be nice to know, right? If people are like, oh, I don't need to lay out anymore because it's as dark as I can ever get.
I think for me, the thing is, like, I can lose it really quick now, so it's like I'll probably get to my peak, and then if I go a week without it, then I'll have to, like, get it back. But I feel like I have not been getting like, I got exponentially tanner, and now I feel like it's a lot less. So even if I am, I feel like it's very minimal now, which is interesting. But I also know I've reached peak tan because everywhere I go, every single person, even if I don't know them, even if I do know them, they say, "You're really tan." I'm like, "Thank you."
So that determines peak tanness. If the majority of the population comment on how tan you are, that's peak tanness.
Yep.
I
Yeah,
do
that's
I
what
do think that there is some kind of peak tan. Like, I don't think you can just keep tanning and just get dark, dark, dark. Like, there is
yeah,
probably so far you can go, but yeah. Now, is this like peak tanness of that you've ever been in your life, or just like at this
probably.
stage in your life?
No, it
Really?
has to be always, yeah, because like, I don't think there's ever been a stint where when I cared about it as much or it's like I've had yeah, I've, like, made that much of a consistent effort. Like, I do try to get out probably, like, 4 or 5 times a week, even if it's, like, just, like, 30 minutes or an hour, and on the weekends, I'm out for, like, as much as possible, so, like, I'm definitely putting in work.
I know when back in my summer lifeguarding days, that was, I mean, I would be outside pretty much all day long, and I would get as dark as possible. That was probably my like peak tanness days,
Mm.
or I was as dark as I could possibly get. I got pretty dark. It was pretty brown.
Compared to where you're at, because I feel like you're really tan now too, so, like, that's
Yeah. Oh yeah. Way darker. Yeah.
wow.
Way darker. Yeah. I mean, I never wore sunscreen or anything. So I
Yeah.
just completely soak it all in.
Yeah. I know, I start to sometimes I worry about that, I don't know, like, UV was, like, 12 yesterday. I was just out chilling.
Well, it's funny you talk about the UV. When I was a kid, or at that age, I mean, no one ever talked about the UV. I didn't even know what it was. And I feel like now, like, my girls are like, better it's like, "Oh, the UV is this number." It's like, "We gotta get out there right now." Like, I never thought about that. I just went outside, the sun was out, I can get tan.
Yeah. Well, I noticed that's where I get the most bang for my buck. Like, if I go in the evening, obviously, when it's lower, then it's, like, not really like, it feels good, but I'm not gonna get the tan that I
Yeah, well, I think that's why. I think just what you said. I think she's thinking about, "Okay, well, when's the best possible time?" And it's funny you mentioned that. I feel like teenagers nowadays are more aware of things like that. Like, actually, I was just talking to one of my clients, and he was saying that some of the kids that he works with in sports teams, like when they're traveling, they'll look at the nutritional content in a drink or something like that and see, "Oh,
mm,
how much protein does this have," and stuff like that. Which we never did. Of course, we just if it was good, we drank it. If we liked it, whatever
mhm,
type of thing. But so I do feel like whether they know what they're doing or not, at
mhm.
least they are more aware of it.
That's interesting. Oh, speaking of that too, like, have you heard that there's a whey protein shortage or that, like, there might be one coming up?
Let's hope that's a hoax because we not need as much whey protein as possible.
I've been hearing a lot about it. No, I think it's because, like, everything is high protein now. It's like that's been the push in marketing and, like, all the products are, like, having more protein, so I think that they're struggling to keep up with the demand of, like, everything.
That's not good because I mean, someone posted the other day they had like high protein taco shells. I was like, it's like out of control. You don't need
It is.
like there are certain things we need more protein in, but the taco shells are not one of them. You know?
Yeah, it has gotten a little out of hand, which is good though. Like, I'm glad that people are prioritizing protein and all that. I think it's yeah, it's funny, and hopefully the shortage isn't too bad. I guess I don't have whey protein anymore, so it's not much of a concern for me. But for everyone and their creamies, oh, beware.
Then my protein coffees stuff like that. A lot of whey protein. You know what I've seen a lot lately of, which I really love, is dates. I've
Mm,
seen a lot of posts on different ways to basically like everyone's stuffing the dates, right?
like
Or
butter and stuff.
yeah, all kinds of stuff. I mean, I've seen, butter, peanut butter, different types
Mm,
of butters, things, whatever, chocolate, there's things to
mhm.
add to it and whatever. And even Harper sent me a picture from Target the other day. It was like sour dates. So they put dates and then they drizzled the sour sugar stuff or whatever all over it.
Interesting.
Like dates need more sugar, but I was
Yeah,
like, they're pretty sweet. That's why they're so good. They're
yeah.
so by themselves. Like you don't need any of that stuff. But I tell you what I've been doing that I really like is I'll take a rice cake and I'll smash a date. Usually I'll cut one in half and I'll do two rice cakes. I smash and I spread it on that and I put a little bit of peanut butter and a little drizzle of honey and salt. Man, that's good.
That sounds banging.
Really good. Yes, really good. And you can totally control it, so it doesn't have to be very high calories at all, but you get
Yeah,
a flavor out of it.
yeah. That sounds good. Speaking of our episode notes, you have parking.
Yeah, specifically though, pulling in backwards.
Yes.
I wanna mention this. I wanna mention this because I want some feedback. I want some comments from our audience, what their thoughts are, because do you know what I'm talking about, right? So you pull into a parking spot, and instead of, like, pulling in right in, like, you back in basically, right? So you're so and I get that for, if it's a busy like, let's say you're going to a game or a concert or something like that, and you're getting out, there's gonna be a lot of traffic or even just, maybe Christmas time, there's just a lot of traffic. It is a lot easier just to pull out, right? I'm going to the gym and there's like 10 people in the parking spot and I have to wait while this lady reverses back and has to back in. Zero reason to back in. When you come out, there will be tons of room and space for you to pull out. It'll save you maybe a second of your life by pulling it like that. So I don't understand. I don't know if it's just becoming a thing now where people like everyone wants to do it because half the cars start noticing more cars are like that. So I just kind of want to throw that out there and get your thoughts on that.
This reminds me, I saw it was like a tweet or an Instagram post a while back, but it's like, dang, I wish I could remember what it is, but it's something about how if you back in, you're cooler than everyone else. Even as you were saying that, I'm like, it's just like she's asserting dominance. It's just like she's just cooler than you. You just gotta accept that. It's all right.
Yeah, I don't think that's what it is. I think just people are doing it just to do it. Like I don't even think there's reasoning behind it. Like I said, I totally get there are
Yeah.
certain reasons to do it, and I do it a lot too.
Mhm.
But there's no reason I just pull right in. And
Mhm.
so I don't understand if, I think it's just becoming a thing. So people do it.
Yeah.
And then it's frustrating, of course, when people don't know how to do it very well. And so they'll pull and they miss it a little bit. So they have to pull back out forward,
Yeah.
especially with rear view cameras. Like they
Mhm.
almost make it like robotic. I mean, you don't have to think much at all. The lines were there and everything. You just
Mhm.
follow I don't know. It gets kind of frustrating. So I want feedback. I want listener thoughts on this.
Yeah. No, I get what you mean. Like, it's definitely not necessary. I went through a phase where I did that everywhere, and then I think I just got lazy, and I was like, "Ah, I don't really care." It's just, like, you feel cool. I think that's really it. There's sometimes where, like you said, like, in a busy street, there's, like, sometimes, like, to get into a certain parking spot or, like, knowing that you won't be able to back out a certain way, it's like you wanna back in, but other
Those
than
are
that,
the
sometimes
times
it's
that I
just
get, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, 100% understand that."
yeah. Other than that, I don't know. And then, one thing too, we wanted to talk about is we have our 100th episode coming up,
Yes.
which crazy.
100 episodes, man. So what are we on right now?
We're
We're
on 90 right now.
90. Right, okay.
So we were
So
trying to figure out what to do for our 100th episode, if we should do some this is also what we want audience feedback on. What do we do?
yeah, tell us, what should we do for the 100th episode? We have to do something. We can't just do like a normal episode. We have to figure out something to make it stand out.
Yeah, I was thinking like Q&A could be fun and like pull people's questions. But yeah, I don't know what else would be fun, but open to ideas. So
Yes. Please share. Tell us, 1, what kind of ideas you want us to do for the 100th episode, and then 2, pulling in backwards in the parking spot. Do you love it, hate it, indifferent? What are your thoughts?
these are very important matters. Let us know if you've reached peak tan.
Yes. If you're at peak tanness, let us
Very
know
important things.
where you're at.
Another note though, like one thing I've been thinking about lately, where I've just been reflecting on is like I feel like I've been in a scarcity mindset in certain areas of life, especially when it comes to money, like which is like kind of random and out of nowhere. But I think this is one. It's like for my whole life, I had these narratives of like, I'm not good enough, and that's still there to like some extent. But then it's weird when I have these new narratives come in, and I'm like, yeah, where did this come from? Like, what's going on? And then you see how it impacts all these areas of your life, and it can kind of eat at you. So that's just something I've been reflecting on recently, and I want to share like a little bit on what I do in those situations because this applies to any sort of narrative that comes up, or like any sort of fears or anxieties. It's like it's kind of similar to my approach with anything that I'm like afraid of or uncomfortable with is like I go full force into it. We saw that when I was in my, like, ice bath phase when I was, like, afraid of the cold, so I was like, "Alright, I'm gonna do cold plunges every day," or I haven't done them in a bit, but or even, like, you've kind of been working through this too when it comes to posting online and posting videos, like, I had to overcome that in the beginning, and I feel like you've done a good job of being consistent with that and kinda pushing through. So, it's that same thing, it's like, if I feel scarcity around something, especially like I said, mostly it's been around it's definitely been a lot around time too. That's something I've been working through, but it's like, okay, I'm gonna go full force into it. So it's like, all right, I was praying on, it's like, my God, show me ways where I can be more generous. Like, what are ways I can be generous with my time, with my energy, with my money, everything. And I've literally been praying on that, and these opportunities have continued to pop up. And then the hard part is going and to continue to act on that too, especially when you wanna hold on to things or money or whatever, and it's tough to be able to, like, release that and let it go and be like, "Okay, I'm gonna give away. I'm gonna, like, donate to my church. I, like" there's a client that you and I were talking about that I'm like, "I wanna give him, like, free coaching. Like, I want another scholarship because I feel really called to it." And that was part of the prayer. I was praying on it, and then, like, I got the message. I'm like, "Yo, I need to do this." And so I immediately, like, I messaged him, and I got him on a call and a lot of that. So, it's just things like that or even just, like, ways to be more generous, like, with my fr even if it's, like, simple, it's like, you're like, "Hey, like, I wanna go and take you out to dinner," or just, like, things like that. So I feel like I've been trying to lean in a lot of ways of doing that because I don't think like, you can't live in a place of scarcity when you're acting that way, when you're being generous, and it all comes back. I know that it's not true, and it's all just stuff that I'm putting in my head, so it's just been kind of fun to see myself working through that. It's honestly fun overcoming it, just like when I was in my cold plunge era and doing all that. It's like similar mindset. It is fun being able to see the growth and what comes through it.
What's really cool is I just saw this post the other day, and it was this kid, and I thought he delivered it really well. It was really cool, and it was about gratitude. And he said, "Imagine being grateful, being thankful. God gives you 2 sandwiches." And he said, what if God was wanting you to give one of those sandwiches to someone else?" And meaning that a lot of times, like, we get something, we feel like God gave it to us. He blessed us with something and we're like, oh my gosh, we're so thankful. That's all ours. And what if he's like, I'm giving you a lot of this, whatever it may be, time, energy, money, whatever, because I want you to share it.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of times we don't take that extra step. And so I thought it was a really good little post, and it kind of made me think about, how blessed I am, but then also being okay. Like I'm blessed in so many ways. I need to be able to look for ways also to share that blessing. Whatever you mentioned, a lot of different ways you could do that, but how I could share that as well.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. That's something that I was basically thinking too, because they talked about that at one of the sermons of just, like, being generous and being a good steward of whatever God gives you, whether that is money or, like, whatever it is, it's like, be a good steward of it. It's like, be able to give back or just trust that he's going to provide more, and, like, whatever it is, like, maybe it isn't just for me and my goods, like, it's like you said, it's opening the door to be able to do more, like, that's why he's giving it to me is because I can do more with it. It's not just, like, keep it to myself and be selfish with it. So, yeah, I've been trying to remind myself of that.
I mean, that's awesome.
Cool. Well, shall we get into some GLPs?
GLPs, yes. Now they have nothing to do with tanning or pulling backwards in the parking spot or anything like that, but be some interesting information for you.
Gotta keep you on your toes. You never know what's gonna come next.
So you never know. We may go way off the board on this one.
So when it comes to what GLPs are, what's cool about it is it's not some totally foreign synthetic thing. It's actually a hormone that your body already produces naturally. Your gut releases it when you eat as a part of your normal signaling system. And then what these medications do is mimic that hormone and basically amplify what your body is already doing. These were developed initially for type 2 diabetes, and the goal was blood sugar regulation. And then they saw the significant changes in weight loss, and that kind of changed the direction of these drugs. And now they're obviously full force in that, given the state of the world right now.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, if you really think about it and we break it down, so there's like three main things that the medications do. Like you just said, it was originally developed for people with type 2 diabetes to help them control blood sugar. So they trigger that insulin release when you eat, so the blood sugar stays more controlled. And they also signal your liver to kind of slow down its glucose production. And here's what most people are wanting to get out of it is they slow down how fast your stomach empties, which means you stay full for a lot longer than you normally would. So the cravings go away. So you aren't as hungry. So people aren't eating as much, right? And that last piece is kind of really the driver behind the weight loss that people are seeing.
Mhm. Yeah, 'cause it's again, it's not a magical pill that, like, forces you to lose weight. It's just the hunger and the cravings is gone, so then you're gonna eat less, and then you're in a calorie deficit, so then you lose weight. Life changing. But yeah, like, the food noise is the big thing because I feel like that's where, most people struggle, whether that's with, like, managing emotions and stress and things through food, or it's just that constant background of the hunger and the cravings and thinking about food, and so when that gets quieter for a lot of people, then naturally you're going to eat a lot less without having to think about it or without having to try. And so that's where people see a lot of like the weight loss progress, but that's also where things can go wrong if you're not doing the right things alongside it.
Yeah, and really, you can go back and think about all the diets that work and don't work, right? So, and what I mean by that is the ones that always work, or if you go on a quote unquote diet and you're like, oh my gosh, I lost 5 pounds, it's because you were in a caloric deficit. It didn't matter what type of diet was. It was,
Yeah.
and then once you get out of the caloric deficit, you gain weight. It doesn't matter what you're doing there, and it's the same type of thing here. You're not eating as much. So, of course, you're in a caloric deficit now. So, and it started off as that diabetes drug, and now there are approvals for like cardiovascular risk reduction, sleep apnea, liver disease. And so, of course, researchers are going to take this and kind of run with it, right? And see whatever they can figure out in terms of what else the medications can do. And so it tells us something about how our body interacts with it at a deeper level, other than just weight loss. So GLP-1 is a lot of times what you'll hear out there, right? And it's a class of drugs, not like a specific medication. And I think people get really confused about this. Semaglutide is probably what you've probably heard a lot about, and that's kind of like the active ingredient in Ozempic, right? And it is FDA approved for diabetes, and then you've heard of Wegovy, and which is like a weight loss version. Same drug, just different doses, different approvals. Ribelsis. I don't even know if I said that right, and I wrote that down. It's like an oral pill form now because before it was all injection, and a lot of people are like, "Well, I'm not going to do it if I have to inject myself." So of course people were like, oh, well, let's come up, like pharmaceutical companies like, well, let's come up with an oral version of this. So it's an oral pill form of semaglutide. It's newer, less common, but it's out there. They're all made by a big pharmaceutical company. And so there's also going to be a lot of money involved. And we can talk about it or not down the road, but there's just a lot of things that go into this. And so you really kind of have to do some research and think about what you're doing and why you're doing.
Yeah. Another one is tirzepatide, which I'm sure a lot of people have heard about. That's like Manjaro for diabetes, and Zepbound is another one for weight loss, and that's made by another one of those big companies. And so tirzepatide is a little different because it's dual action, which means that it targets both the GLP-1 hormone and another hormone called GIP. So it's basically hitting two pathways at once, and the results reflect that. With some of the new studies that we're seeing with that one, it's like I think a lot of people see it like it's one of the most effective ones for weight loss. I think there may be a new one that's come out since we prep for this, but basically it's like they keep getting stronger and more effective for weight loss. And this one in particular shows around like 22.5% of body weight getting lost for people.
And side note, they're doing a great job of marketing this. I feel
Hmm.
like almost every other commercial out there has something to do with one of these GLP-1s.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and we talked about the injection side of things. Some people could care less. Some people are like, well, that's the only thing that's holding me back from this. And it's that weekly shot. And everyone's a little different too, right? You have to find that specific dose. And I think when it first came out, or at least so it's been out for a long time, but I think when it first became more mainstream as in terms of not using it just for diabetes, even doctors weren't quite sure. They were kind of just giving a generic dose, like, I take this much. And then we started realizing that everyone's different. Some people were taking it and that dose just made them really sick. Some people were taking it, that dose was great. And so I think they're starting to figure out we got to start like on this like micro dose and then kind of move from there. But so again, there's just a lot going on here.
Hmm. Yeah, even with the dosing, it's tough because I think a lot of the like if you go get it prescribed from your doctor, like at least from what I've seen, is like they're putting people on such high doses, like so quick. And I feel like there's a much again, like I'm not a pro in this, like a disclaimer, disclaimer, we're not medical professionals, but like from what I've seen and what I've seen with clients is like people get put on such high doses so fast, and that's where they start to experience some of those side effects too, even just like nausea. It's like if I think if you dose it up properly, like you shouldn't even experience that. And it should be very subtle in the beginning, and then you can slowly ramp up as opposed to just like going and taking it and then like losing all of your appetite and then not wanting to eat anything. So it's like just like anything, just like even when you're like taking SSRIs or any other medications, like you're slowly phasing them up and down. I think that's kind of the similar approach that we want to take with this if you are going down that road. So it is just tough to see doctors prescribing like such high doses, or even just the way that they break it out. Like sometimes instead of taking it like just once a week and taking a massive dose, it's like you can break that up and do it like twice a week to help the side effects and just help that lasting effect. So there's a lot of ways to do it too. And again, like talk to your doctors on this, but like that's just kind of what I've seen.
Well, that's true with a lot of things. If we go back thinking about like creatine,
Yeah.
most people are pretty good on the lower dose of like 5 grams, but some people they have digestive issues. And so you can even break it down to like 1 gram and kind of just have that throughout the day type of thing instead of going from like, I never take creatine to, oh, I saw these influencers said you can take 20 grams in a day. It's probably going to wear your digestive system out.
Mhm. Now, want to talk about like where people are sourcing them and some of the risks that come with that. And so, because the landscape of this has changed so dramatically over the last couple years, still a lot of people like aren't sure of like where to do it, how to go about it. Basically, in 2022, that's where things for GLP-1 started exploding, and the manufacturers could not keep up both with semaglutide and tirzepatide, and then they ended up on the FDA's or official drug shortage list. And so when it's on the list, that's where it opens a legal window for compounding pharmacies to produce their own versions.
Yeah, and the compounded GLP-1s, they got really big really fast, and I like the brand name like Wegovy, like without insurance. That's we haven't even talked about that. That can be extremely expensive. Like I think it's like $1,000 a month or somewhere in that range.
Crazy.
And then, but the compounded versions were way cheaper. And so unfortunately, some people, even if it's something that, hey, I'm messing with my body here, they'll go the cheaper route just because of, financial reasons. So, I mean, that's a big price difference between like 150 to 300 and $1,000, right? And so a lot of people will take advantage of that. And so what's changed is the FDA declared that the semaglutide shortage is resolved and the trizepatide shortage. So when that ends, the legal window kind of for compounding closes, and so it becomes more national, and you're going to have a lot more pharmaceutical companies being able to provide it, and a lot more opportunities for people to take it.
With that, now we see a lot of those companies that still operate and sell these products, but it's in more of a gray area, and that's where you'll see a lot of them that say, like, you can go on these sites and there's a million different companies and stuff that does peptides now, and all the peptides are similar where it's gonna say, like, they're labeled not for human consumption. And so that's kinda where you gotta do your own research, like, it's best to go through, someone that you trust, doctor, someone who's certified in, like, good quality company, but that's where a lot of people are getting them from too, is those type of companies. But with that, it's kind of like the supplement industry. It's like it's the wild, wild west, especially with the peptides like exploding. So it's like you've got to be very careful with where you're getting your peptides from and make sure that they are a quality company and like can be trusted. And then even then too, it's like being careful with the doses because if you go your own route and you're doing it yourself, it's like you got to be careful with making sure that you are doing the proper dosage because it can be easy to do way too much, and then you're gonna run into other issues. So there's a lot that goes into that. So it's like you gotta do your research, really gotta know what you're doing if you do go to choose to do that route.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to do this on your own. You want to make sure that you have a partner that knows what they're doing if you decide to get on this. So I think it would be a good idea to let's talk about some pros and cons. Like what are the benefits that we're seeing, and then some of the things that you probably need to be wary about.
Yeah. And so with all this, just to be clear, like we're not here to tell you that GLP-1s are bad. Like you were saying earlier, they're a tool. And when they're used correctly with the right guidance and the right support around them, they can be a very powerful tool. And the weight loss results are very real and significant, especially when it's helping with type 2 diabetes and all these other issues that come downstream of just the eating habits and being overweight and all that. So the data is really strong on that front.
I think for people who really truly have struggle, right? People that are dealing with insulin resistance or metabolic dysfunction, people who feel like they've done a lot of things right for years and just can't kind of get a lot of traction. It could be a tool. It could be a real game changer, right? And I think about clients who maybe just they're just really at a point where they need to lose a lot of weight and it's a lot of behavioral issues. And so it's almost like let's get them started on this if possible and get them on the right path and then we can start making some real changes.
The appetite suppression is a big one. The food noise that we talked about with the cravings and emotional eating. I think when you're constantly thinking about food, this can be a really good thing to quiet while you focus on like we still need to get to the root cause of it. I think that's at the core of all this. And that's why it is so like we did an episode a while back on why it's so important to have a coach and how to approach using GLP properly because you still need to work on all these other things. You can't just take this and expect that like yeah, you might lose the weight because you're eating less, but then what happens when you get off of it? Or you're just gonna take it the rest of your life? I'm like, no, that's not what we want to aim for here. So it's like you still need to work on all the main foundational habits. You still need to work on like why are you having that food noise to begin with and then but it can help when it's quieted so that way you can focus on that and you can still see some progress but you still need to address these things.
Yeah, I heard someone liken it to, I thought this was actually a pretty good comparison. When they're talking about like depression meds, there's a lot of people like, well, why don't you just work on the things that are causing the anxiety and things like that? Well, if you have someone that is suicidal or on the brink of causing some damage to themselves or other people, the first thing you need to do is get them on some depression meds, right? We, like you said, we need to bring that noise down. Then once you have a little more stableness there, then you can start working on what is the core here, what are the root causes. But you have to get them somewhere. And so if we're getting someone who is just extremely obese, extremely overweight, and their life could be at stake within soon, then let's get them on something so that, like I said, we get rid of that noise, clear it out, and then we can start working on the core reason, the core kind of like that root cause of why we can't kind of get some traction on this weight loss.
Yeah, 100% because like I was in that boat too like when I was on all my medications like I was on all this SSRIs anxiety med stuff it's like I needed that for the time being but at least for me I knew that that's not something I wanted to rely on and granted like GLPs are different like kind of different category than taking like a medication like that. I see them as a little bit I don't even know the right way, like more natural. I don't know if that's the best way to articulate it, but like you said, like it is something that we produce in our bodies. And so it's like a little, it's not like taking a medication, but at the same time, again, it's not something that you should be relying on, especially like I said, if you're taking the wrong doses, or it's like is stunning your hunger that much is like it's not going to be healthy for you to be eating so little calories long term. So it's like we want to make sure that we're addressing those deeper issues.
Yeah, and we have seen a lot of people see some really good results, and lose a lot of weight. So there are definitely some pros to getting to using the GLPs.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, we work with a lot of clients who are on them, and we help them navigate that. And sometimes, we're working alongside their doctors and practitioners to like help with that, and then like helping them on this side to make sure that we're balancing all these things. So definitely a place for it. Again, it's just a tool, and it just depends on your situation whether that's going to be something that's beneficial to take advantage of, or maybe not right now.
And going back to what you're talking about, like where we've worked with people before, a lot of times it takes a team, right? If you go out this on your own, you don't have a trainer, you don't have a doctor, anything like that. You're doing all this on your own, and so who knows what's really going to happen? But if you have a team of a medical staff that knows what they're doing, you have a trainer that can guide you through this, and so okay, again, we're going to use this as a tool. I'll show you how to use that as a tool, so that eventually we can get off it, and we'll start creating these really good habits. Much better chance that this will be a sustainable thing as opposed to almost comparing it to a diet thing where, and we've seen this too, people are using GLPs, they lose 20 pounds, they get off and they start gaining the weight back.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. So that kind of goes into some of the cons of it. Do you want to start on that?
Yeah. And so there are some downsides, and you need to make sure that you realize that as well. So just in terms of side effects, a lot of it's GI related, nausea, vomiting, constipation, diarrhea, stuff like that. Most of this happens during the dose escalation or where maybe the dose was too high to begin with type of thing, and your body hasn't adjusted to it. It can get better. Again, everyone's very different. So if you do decide to do this, know that there could be some side effects that it could lead to it. It may not get better. It may or may not get better. So it can be pretty rough early on. And some people are like, I'm out. I don't want to, or once they start experiencing that, I'm going to do it. And then we don't know a lot of the longer term effects either. There could be some things down the road that we're just not as knowledgeable about that could be some side effects as well. So there's a lot of things to think about there.
I know, I always think about with the stuff that blows up so much. It's like obviously these compounds have been around for a while, but I feel like the scale at which people are using it is like it's absurd now. So I feel like we don't have as much data as we will, maybe like 20, 30 years from now after everyone's been taking it for so long. So I guess we'll have to see how that all plays out.
Well, I feel like, and I was going to say human nature, society. This may be more of an American thing. I feel like we go to extremes, like oh GLPs, let's everyone get on type of thing, and so yeah, we have to be we have to think about that.
Yeah. And then another one too that ties into that is the muscle loss, because this is something we always deal with directly with clients, especially when you're losing weight and a significant amount of weight on a GLP-1. A lot of people are not intentionally protecting muscle, especially when you're just not hungry and you're not eating anything. It's like, yeah, you're going to lose a lot of weight, but you're going to lose a lot of muscle too. If you're not prioritizing protein, especially when you're not hungry, like it's going to be tough to get in your protein. And so if you aren't doing that, if you aren't getting your training in, then a lot of what you're going to lose is muscle along with the fat.
If you're losing weight and a majority of it's muscle, that's not the healthy way of doing it, and the downstream effect is not going to be a positive thing, even if the scale is looking more favorable for you. And like you said, you lose a muscle. It is. A lot of people struggle to eat protein when they are hungry, right? Eat enough protein, I should say. And so if you take that desire to eat away, where you almost have to force yourself to eat extra protein, that's going to be very challenging for the average person out there.
For sure. That's why what's the term? Is it like Ozempic face, or like there's some term where it's like you can tell when like someone people just like look like zombies almost. Like there you hear a lot of that just because they're eating so little and losing all their muscle along with it. And then yeah, you lost weight, but you're just like a smaller version of yourself the way that you were before. And so that's not necessarily what you wanted either.
Yeah, well, we used to refer to as skinny fat, and that was where someone was skinny, but they didn't look healthy. Like it wasn't an attractive skinny. They just looked like they didn't eat anything. And the Ozempic face or whatever, there you'll see people that lose tons of weight, and they're excited about it because they're losing weight. But again, a lot of that is muscle. You're not going to look very good. And more importantly, if you just not even talking about looks, more importantly, you're not healthier and your body is not thriving. And so, you know, we see clients that get excited about it because they're losing weight, but it's not in a sustainable way and it's not in a way that is actually healthy for them. And then of course, getting off of it, if they haven't changed anything, then they're just going to end up gaining it back as well.
Mhm. Yeah, because it's like if you're eating that little, and it's like some of them have been shown to like have a little bit of metabolic effects, but some of them don't. And yeah, it's like if you're eating that little, naturally, when you get your hunger back, you're going to be eating a lot more. So the weight is going to come back on. And then, too, it's kind of like the pattern that we see is you lose a bunch of fat and muscle if you're doing it, quote unquote, the wrong way. And then you're going to gain back the weight and it's going to be primarily fat. And a lot of people go through that cycle multiple times too. So it's like every single time metabolically, you're putting yourself in a worse position and making it harder and harder to come out of it and make it sustainable long term. And so that's where that vicious cycle can be so tough too. So it's like you wanna make sure that you're setting yourself up, like, taking the medication is only half of the battle, like, you still need to do all the work on the other side, like we were talking about earlier, addressing those deeper core foundational issues and habits and patterns, so that way you can be successful long term using it. This is another big takeaway that we want people to have is, again, the medication creates a window, what you build inside that window is very important. We want to reduce the noise around food and hunger. That's cool. But again, it's not teaching you how to eat. It's not building your muscle. It's not fixing your sleep or your stress or your relationship with food or the habits that got you to this point to begin with.
Yeah, so think about it this way, we always talk about how important it is to build that solid foundation, right? And the medication can help you lose weight, but if we haven't built those behaviors, if we haven't established anchor habits, if we haven't built the strength to support, then what happens when we come off it? Right? Or you're on them forever, which I think most people are not going to be able to do.
Yeah. So, like we were saying, I think some of the core things to focus on is protein. One, you had to be intentional. That's like a lot of people don't even hit their protein when they're off of it. So, you got to put in some work to get in your protein no matter where you are, no matter how much you're eating on that. It's like get your protein. And when you're in a calorie deficit without adequate protein, without the resistance training, your body is going to let go of the muscle. So it's like we have to fight and like teach your body it's like, hey, we need to maintain this as we're going and losing weight. Like any sort of cutting phase, but more important when it's more extreme like this and you don't have those signals.
Right. So protein is going to build the muscle, right? And so the resistance training is something you have to do. You can't just get on GLPs and just be like, all right, sweet, I'm taking this, I'm losing some weight. I'm not going to do anything else. Again, it's not a magic pill, right? If you really care about how your body looks and how it functions, that's probably way more important, right? Then you're going to need to do resistance training. And this is also why I think it's so important to have a coach, which we'll talk about in a second. But we need to make sure we know what we're doing. And it's not any different than a normal program, but we've got to build muscle. And that's a signal to our body that we are going to build a proper body. We're just using these GLPs to help make sure that we're not overdoing it on the nutrition side of things.
Yeah, and like we've been hammering too, just with the habits. Again, we want to make sure that's sustainable long term. And whatever window this medication is giving you, again, use it to build the right behaviors, use it to address those deeper issues. We want to make sure that your habits and behaviors and identity are going to outlast the season and what you're using this as a tool. So it's how you eat, how you move, the way that you manage your stress, your sleep, the people that are getting and keeping the results are the ones who actually focus on these things and know that it's just a tool and it's part of the process and not fully relying on that like some magic pill.
If I'm doing this right now, or I'm thinking about doing this, I'm listening to like, yeah, I've been wanting to do GLPs, or I'm getting on it right now. I think one thing I would definitely do is hire a coach, and I'll tell you why I think it's very important is because that the GLP is going to help you not overeat. Right, it's going to help you with the snacking. It's going to help you with the bored, the stress, all the stuff. You're not going to want to go eat, and that's going to put you in a really good place now, where to be able to maximize your fitness journey, right? But you need to know what you're doing, right? So if you have someone in your corner that's going to be able to look at your nutrition, make sure you're getting enough protein in, right? Make sure that we're doing the correct training, make sure that our recovery is building all these habits so that we can get to a place where like, okay, now we've established all this stuff, we can get off of it and you're not going to have those struggles that you had before because you've really built this super strong foundation, your anchor habits, and it'll be sustainable the rest of your life.
Yeah, do you have any specific clients that come to mind that you've worked with on this or just like have had experiences on the GLP ones, even if it was like before and maybe not necessarily the best experience?
I've had a couple clients that got on it. They lost some weight. That they went through the same type of struggles. One, the doses were off, so they were getting sick quite often. and they didn't feel good. I had one, for example, that I worked with in person, and she would feel good like two out of the 7 days of the week. And she knew like it was like towards the end of that week, she was feeling good. And then right when she got back on the dose again, she felt horrible. And she wasn't losing that much weight. And she wasn't doing anything on the nutrition side of things. So I was totally fine with her taking it to begin with, but I kept trying to tell her like nothing's really changing. And so you're either going to do this for a while and you're going to feel horrible and you're going to lose a little bit of weight, or we make some big major changes while you can. So I do think a lot of the stuff we talked about, it's a big process. Again, not a magic pill. You really can't just take it and be like, okay, great. All my friends are taking GLPs. I'm losing 5, 10, 20 pounds. I can't wait to do that. There still needs to be a lot of work to be done to make this a sustainable, healthy benefit for your life.
That's so tough too. It's like you're miserable if you're sick most of the week. And then also too, kind of what we didn't touch on with the training is like a lot of people are eating so little that they're I was actually talking to one of my friends last weekend. She said she was taking one. She was saying how she was on it. She was just like her energy is so low. So it's like tough to like get up and want to go and train and stuff. So like it does make it harder in some ways to be able to go and do that. And obviously that's where having a coach is super important too. And because your training is going to have to look very different when you are on it to make sure that the recovery and energy and everything is good. And you're still like maintaining as much muscle as possible. It's like you can't just go in and do the training that you were doing previously if you're eating so little. So that's another thing as well. But yeah, it's tough to see like in that situation. It's like it doesn't really make sense. It's like you're only functional 2 days out of the week, and body's not even like really losing weight. So it's like, what's the point? And that's where we're talking about here is like making sure everything else is done properly, or even the dosage too. Like I was saying earlier, a lot of times like you shouldn't be experiencing that crazy of nausea or side effects, and that usually just means the dosing is way too like high.
Well, and one thing we haven't talked about either, I was just thinking about is there are some people who I think this can really benefit. And then I think some people are just taking it unnecessarily. And what I mean by that is if you have 50, 75 pounds to lose, this is something I might consider. If you have like 5 pounds to lose, like this is not something you need to do. Like you need to establish that foundation, figure out what are the behaviors and why, what are the root causes and why am I needing to get on something like this just to lose 5 to 10 pounds.
Yeah. So if you are on a GLP-1 right now or thinking about getting on one, again, there's nothing wrong with that. Just make sure that you're not just relying on that as the end all be all and going back to what you were doing previously as far as habits. Like you still want to work on these right things. Use this window that it's giving you. Focus on building your muscle, building your habits, getting this right support around you, and making sure that you're getting it from a reputable source and approaching it properly. But you still have to do your work. Like the medication is going to help, but you need to do your part. And that's ultimately the theme that we wanted to wrap up here.
Right. So hopefully you took something out of this. It was a valuable lesson for a valuable episode, I should say, for you. So share it with someone who needs to hear it. Share it just because you love the podcast, or share it because you know somebody that's been taking Ozempic or Wegovy or all the other things out there. Send it to them. And of course, again, we would love to hear your feedback on what we should do for the 100th episode, whether you like backing in, whether you're at, what did you call it? The
Peak
10,
tan.
if you're at peak Tanner, people are interested in that, send that to them as well.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys. We'll catch you on the next one.